Hi, I'm Hub Arkush along with senior editor Mike Wilkeny, and we're going to give you our preview of the Sunday night game of the week for NFL Week 11 in the 2012 season. It is the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers in an AFC North showdown in Pittsburgh. And you know, Mike, it's funny, I think everybody got so worried about the Ravens when Ray Lewis and Lardarius Webb went down. They've had all these injuries. Nobody realizes they're still 7-2 and ahead of the Steelers by a game in the AFC North.
Give the Baltimore Ravens credit. They have taken care of business of late. It hasn't been pretty at times. They kind of won an ugly game at Cleveland. They took care of business, though, against Oakland. They won like a good team ought to win. And now they've got the lead, and they swept this season series against Pittsburgh a season ago. And now when we talk about injuries, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers that have some real problems in that regard.
Well, and the Steelers have won 4 straight. They're back to playing Steeler football. They're 6-3. This is in Pittsburgh, and you know you don't want to get the Steelers in Pittsburgh, but it seems almost certain that Ben Roethlisberger won't go, and this will be the first time this year they're without him if that happens.
Yeah, they've been down this road before if indeed they don't have Roethlisberger, and it has not always been pretty for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they've got to go to the backup, it'll be Byron Leftwich. Obviously a much different quarterback than Ben Roethlisberger. It's going to be a much different offense. He's certainly limited in terms of what you can do. Roethlisberger, of course, his strength is extending the play, kind of making something out of nothing. Leftwich is a guy, pocket passer, long deliveries, slow feet. Really, you're going to be limited, I think, in the passing game. You might have to lean a little bit more on the run game. And that's where Baltimore's actually pretty good from a defensive standpoint. So really, a Ravens defense that has had some issues this year, I think certainly this injury is going to help them quite a bit.
You know, Mike, you really can't ignore the fact, though, that if any team in the league has been running the ball better than the Steelers the last 3-4 weeks, I'm not sure who it is. So they're going to go, even if it's a trio, even if Rashard Mendenhall is back, but without him, Jonathan Dwyer, Isaac Redman, these guys have had big games. I would think that this, in some respects, plays into the Steelers' hands as well. They're going to protect Leftwich a little bit, but they've run the football really well.
The emphasis on the run, I think, has been key, Hub. I think there's really been kind of a feeling that they're going to stick with it no matter what. And, I think that's what it's going to have to be. There's going to have to be a stick-to-itiveness for Pittsburgh in the run game, I think, in this one, because I don't know if things are going to come particularly easy for them, at least early on. You've got a Ravens front that, again, is better versus the run versus the pass. You've got Haloti Ngata coming off a week of rest. You've got Terrell Suggs coming back off the Achilles, another week under his belt. I really think that if the running game kind of gets going for Pittsburgh, it's going to be something we see it in the third and fourth quarter. And if that's the case, you tip your cap to the offensive line and you tip the cap to Todd Haley because he's probably not going to get away from it in this matchup.
Well, Mike, you look at Baltimore hanging 55 on the Raiders last week, you say, wow, that offense is really clicking, and it was. But Joe Flacco and this offense for Baltimore have been a totally different group on the road this year than they've been at home.
Yeah, it really has been a stark contrast in terms of what Flacco's been able to do away from home and on the road. And this, I think, is a huge game for him. We always get to this point with Joe Flacco, don't we, where he's got to prove himself. And I think he has to prove himself again because, again, he's been great in great circumstances. It's been sort of on the road where he has struggled. Now, the one thing in Joe Flacco's favor is that, first of all, he certainly knows his opponent. Secondly, one of his best games in a road setting had to have been last year at Heinz Field, where really he was the difference in victory. He led that game-winning drive. That really was the difference in terms of Baltimore winning the division. But he's got to step his game up on the road. I tend to think, Hub, when you look at this game, I think it's going to come down to Ray Rice maybe at the end of things because he's had some very big games against the Steelers, not only as a runner, but out of the backfield getting on those linebackers.
Well, as we say in the business, Mike, that was a segue. It's prediction time here, and I guess we have a sense of where you may be going.
I think this is going to be a grinder of a ball game. I'm going to lead towards the Pittsburgh Steelers at home in a very low-scoring game. I just think Pittsburgh in this spot, they have played so well overall. They certainly can improve off of last week's effort. You get Leftwich back in the lineup, a week of practice, as we had talked about. I tend to think they're going to have just a little bit too much at home for Baltimore.
You gave me a little bit of sleight of hand there. I thought you were going with Ray Rice and the Ravens, come back with Pittsburgh. I agree with you, and I find it very interesting because I think the bulk of the, quote, insiders or analysts were leaning towards the Steelers until Roethlisberger went down. Then everybody flocks to the Ravens. Got to be Baltimore now. No, I think it's going to be a grinder, just like you said it is, and I think the tougher, better running team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're at home, so I'm with you. I like the Steelers in this one. We shall see what happens. That will do it, though, for our preview of the Sunday night game of the week. For all the best in news, notes, and analysis, and all the news, scoops, and rumors, some before they even happen, you want to be at ProFootballWeekly.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.